running back. And the first 2 years he just concentrated on basketball at English, and this year he decided to come out, and here you see him against Saugus with a nice little run. Only a junior, you know, with Mark getting most of the work. Jason's been in there here and there, and he does an excellent job on defense from the strong safety spot. Here you see him against Gloucester getting us back into the football game. Again, another kid with good speed. I just think this year here, Jason needed to get his feet wet again as far as football went. Like I said, he's been out of it for 2 years, and he's gotten better as every game went on. And I think he'll be a good back next year for us. You know, we've been fortunate that we had, you know, the Todd Gilberts and Damon Morris, and then Brian last year, and Mark this year, and hopefully Jason next year can fit in with all them guys. And you know, we're looking for big things from him next year. He'll go on and, you know, he'll do a good job in the basketball court too this winter, and you know, hopefully we can get him in shape and maybe put a little weight on him in the off season. But you know, I'm looking forward to having Jason back next year at tailback. Like I said, I think he got better as the games went on, and I think he just needed that. Like I said, he got away from it for 2 years, and now he's getting it back. He's getting that football sense back.
Arthur Brown, the fullback, I had the pleasure of coaching this young man at the boys' club for a few games, and he's a fine young man. He's almost like if you're making up a blueprint, he'd be the type you'd make for the fullback, especially in the wishbone when you use it. Yeah, I think the thing with Artie is he's an unselfish player, and you know, one of the things I said to him early in the season was that when we get down inside the 10-yard line, we're going to give him a shot at the end zone because he works all the time to get us down there, and he's the guy that really does it. And you know, he's very unselfish. So like I said, when it comes time, in Springfield Cathedral here, and he makes a nice big play here to put us out in front. You know, he's got 7 touchdowns, and I think his record is every 8 times he touches the football, he scores a touchdown. So you know, that's one way that we work with Artie, and Artie knows how we feel about him, and he's done some big one. There's a big play for us in Salem. None bigger than that. That's it. There's the, you know, that was the one that set everything up. His in Saugus. And you know, the thing that we tell him all the time is, hey, he's going to get his against Winthrop. This is a big interception. You know, he does a nice job. He picks it off, and you know, he's going down the sidelines, and there's the big guy Wigfall. You know, stride for stride with him. You know, into the end zone, and you know, it's 81-yard interception against Winthrop. So he's done it on both sides of the football for us, and he's. You know, like I said before, he's a very unselfish kid. He's a wonderful kid to have around, and he's, you know, one of our 4 captains, and he's. He, you know, comes from a great family, and he's just fun to be with. Here he is in Salem. He's as good an open field tackler as you're going to find as well too. So he gets the job done. Looking at Wendell Valeria, you mentioned him before. You mentioned moving to fullback. He had a big game against Salem in the first half. He had about 50, 60 yards in the first half against Salem, but he played on both sides of the ball very well too. Yeah, you know, when you talk about unselfish, Wendell Valera, you know, did that this year. You know, he wanted to play fullback, and we put him in there, and he's got good speed, and he's a strong runner. And again, here he is against Bosco, and he had some real good runs against Salem, and then he twisted his knee. He had a problem with his knee and his lower ankle for a few weeks, so you know, it kind of hindered him a little bit. But I think Mark Nickerson will be the first one to tell you that you know, that 1,300 yards probably wouldn't have been possible without the offensive line in Wendell Valera. Wendell Valera is a great blocker. You know, that guard sense. We tell him he's our 3rd guard in there. You know, but here he is catching a screen pass against Saugus, and he's capable. Once he gets outside, he's got, you know, decent speed for a big kid. And you talk about unselfish. He plays on the defense. He plays defensive end for us. He's got good lateral pursuit. Again, he was one of our you know, 3 returning starters from the Super Bowl team last year, and one of our captains. And you know, he doesn't say much. Whatever you ask him to do, you know, he does it. And when he does it, he usually does it pretty good for you. I guess so. A little look to the future for you. Kareem Gibson. I've been calling him Karam. But Kareem Gibson has done very well for you. Yeah, Kareem is a sophomore, and you know, you talk about a find that is a diamond in the rough. This kid's got great speed. He's got great outside movement, and you know, he just he runs hard, and you know, he doesn't do much dancing. And I'll tell you, you talk about a kid that doesn't say much. You know, we have a joke on the team. This kid could do it. He could give me an obscene phone call at my house one night, and I wouldn't be able to recognize the voice. That's how few words I've heard this young man say. He's just that's the kind of kid he is. He comes every day to practice, and he doesn't say a word, and he just gets out there and works. Splendid kid to have around. He's just a pleasure to have on the team, and
I think the thing that he really has done is he's helped our whole entire team because of his practice ethics get better. You know, he keeps us working on defense, and you know, anytime we want to simulate, here he is on defense coming up in the cornerback, and the big boy from Danvers, so he's you know, he's a hitter on the outside too. But like I said, he's really his practice ethics has really helped us be a better team defensively, because when we put him on the demo, it's, you know, he's got the speed and he can simulate any of the backs in the conference for us.
Looking at Leroy Brown for you, he's made some big catches, but amazing defensively. He's as good as probably as anybody's played in the conference. I see him blitzing. I see him back in the end zone, knocking passes down. He just seems to be where the football is.
We call him the snake. He looks like he recoils out there. He's about 120 pounds. And you see him before the game, he puts on more padding and long johns and then the tights over him and 3 pairs of shoulder pads and 2 thigh pads. And he defensively, again, he does an excellent job from our outside linebacker spot. And he's got soft hands. Here he is in the Swampscott game catching a pass from Nickerson on the option pass. Again, you talk about Nickerson's yardage. It wouldn't be possible without Leroy, who's one of our wideouts, does an excellent job blocking on the outside. Here he is catching the touchdown against Swampscott. Again, usually when he's open, he comes up with the big catch for us. But I think, again, his strength is on defense. He does an excellent job at the outside linebacker spot. Last year as a junior, he had 2 big sacks against Swampscott for us that kept us in the game. Did an excellent job in the Super Bowl. There he is. We call him the Karate Kid. You see him taking on the double team and then pulling troops down from behind. And he's doing all this at, like I said, 120, maybe 130 pounds. And he does an excellent job. He doesn't give any ground. He doesn't take any ground. He just sits and plays, and he plays good defense. I felt, you know, he was one of the top, you know, outside linebackers in the conference this year, and he's only a junior, and he knows, you know, next year he has to just get on the weights. And here he is with a big interception against Danvers. They were going in before the half. If he can get in the weight room and you know, put some muscle on that body and maybe work on his speed a little bit, he'll be one of the top players in the conference next year.
Oh, I agree. The most I can say about the next young man that I'm going to pick, we're going to see on the screen, is he's one of the nicest gentlemen I've ever met in my life, even though he's a great football player and he knocks people around the football field. Geoffrey Boyd is one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Well, I think the thing is, and most of the gentlemen on both people that we've seen here tonight, you can say that about. But he's a unique person in that very quiet, you know, his intensity level increases on the field, but he's just a real quiet person, and he's a nice person to be around. And you know, he's an excellent athlete. He plays the game as a receiver as good as anybody. He can catch the ball. He's got excellent speed, and you know, he's done it. Like I said, he's one of the guys that we threw in there as a freshman and just kind of, you know, let him get his lumps, and he's matured into an outstanding football player as well as an outstanding young man. This was on the play against Salem late in the game when we just needed that first down, and we went to him, and you know, he took care of it for us. This is him going over the top against Gloucester and scoring a big touchdown for us. You know, he's got outside speed that, you know, he just runs laterally well. He plays defense, and like I said, he's a tough kid, and you know, there aren't too many teams that are going to get outside on him. He's very disciplined, and you know, he's easy to coach, and he's been a lot of fun for 4 years to have around. And you know, we're going to miss Geoffrey Boyd. He just seems like he's been a permanent fixture there. His in the Winthrop game, he, you know, does a nice job on man-to-man coverage on outside, and you know, picks off the pass. That's the beauty of having a Geoffrey Boyd out there, is we can, you know, do some things with the cornerbacks and stuff, and let him man up and kind of, you know, give a few different looks. Here he is, another big interception in the Salem game. This kind of put everything away and allowed us to, you know, to come home with a win that day.
I think that was his biggest game. He had some, especially in the fourth quarter, he had some huge plays against Salem in a 1-point game that helped you win. Yeah. And you know, I remember he came down here one night. He was on the program. I think what happened afterwards, he helped run the camera, I think, on one of the shows. But Dave Medrano had some big catches for you, and he's a find for you.
Oh yeah, Dave, you know, only a junior. He played tight end, and he played some outside linebacker for us also. Here he is against Salem with the big catch here, 1 tackle away. He does an excellent job blocking. Again, one of those guys up front that, you know, open up the holes for Mark and our other backs. Here he is with another catch against Gloucester. He's got, you know, he's got nice soft hands. He's a good-sized kid, and he's a kid that comes. He's at practice every day. He works hard. He works hard at catching the football. You know, we're looking for again next year. We're looking for some big things out of him defensively. This year here, he did a nice job. Here he is against Everett, going 75 yards on the interception. He did a nice job out there, and he's done a good job at outside linebacker. Him and Kevin Jollymore, who's a senior, have been splitting time out there. And, we thought that going into the year that David would have a big year for us. And I think he's done that. But next year he needs to get to that next plateau and just, work in the offseason. He'll be playing basketball. And then once basketball's over, we'll try and get him to concentrate on football a little bit. And hopefully he'll have a good year next year also.
The other young man, Dave Clark, has been exceptional. I watched him one play. I think we're probably going to see it, where he lined up as your right defensive end and wound up making an interception in the back end of the end zone in the Salem game, which again was a 1-point win. That was a huge defensive play, but he's done many big plays for you all year.
Yeah, he has. David's another one who's matured a lot for us this year and has really come and done some nice things. Here's catching a slant pass against Winthrop, and he's had, he's had a tough year. The loss of his brother in that car accident was a tough way for him to start, but I think he's kind of grown from everything and put everything in perspective. Here he is in Springfield making a big play from behind and a sack on the quarterback. Just doesn't give up. He'll chase him down, and this is where he's really come to play this year. Every year for us is on defense. We play him as an outside linebacker, and he comes hard. He works hard at it, and he likes playing that position, and it's fun for him. And he's another one. Here he is in Salem. See, we kind of backed him off a little bit and put him on some man-to-man coverage, and we could put pressure on the quarterback. And when you put somebody with his ability on man-to-man coverage, it's pretty tough to throw against him. That was a big play. I think that saved the game for us in the Salem game. That kept us in there.
I guess it did. Looking at Jamie Benevento, he's another one that Scotty Lynch liked to throw to and had some big receptions for you.
Well, we had problems this year. We had a lot of seniors come out, but unfortunately we didn't keep all of them because of the shortage on coaches and things like that. But we kept Benevento around because he wanted to be a backup quarterback, and he ended up coming in and be a starting wideout for us. He's got good hands. He has great moves. He's had some big catches. One there against Salem, a touchdown pass here against Saugus. Again, he got better. He hadn't played since Papuana either, and he got better as the weeks went on at that split end position for us. Here was a big catch here on 4th down against Beverly. This was for our winning TD. He got us down within striking distance here. He almost broke it and went in all the way. That was when the ball game was tied, and he does a good job on special teams for us also. He plays cornerback, and he does an excellent job tackling, as does Nickerson. He comes up, and he does a good job. He doesn't let them guys turn the corner on him, and then here he is with an interception against Saugus. Again, he was a find. He was a senior that, we kept him around as Scotty Lynch's backup because we had 2 freshmen other than Benevento, and he learned the offense, and he wanted to catch the ball, so we put him out there, and he made some nice catches for us this year.
Yeah, he played extremely well. We're gonna lump 2 of you guys together to try and play a little catch-up here. We're running out of time a little bit, but Fialo and Eric Lane have been 2 big stories for you. Fialo with a very big play in the Salem game, and of course Eric is a story in itself.
Well, I think the big thing with Simon Fialo was, he came and he knew that there was some real competition at the 2 ends, but he did some things for us. Here he is, the same play that we scored in the big play in Salem, where we ran it against Tech. And then we didn't use it again. We put it on the shelf till the Salem game, and we knew that we were going to need it sooner or later for a 2-point conversion. And this is probably the biggest play that Simon will ever be involved in his high school career right here. But, I think the thing was that everything we've ever asked him to do, he's been at practice, and he's worked hard, and he plays behind 2 excellent athletes in Dave Clark and Joffrey Boyd. And it's, it hasn't discouraged him at all. He keeps working, and he keeps, he keeps pushing, and he wants to be a part of the team, and that's important.
And Eric Lane, we mentioned, has been a story and a half running back kicks. He's the big one against Gloucester. Eric's
completely deaf. I met Eric when he was in the 6th grade, and I've always been impressed with him as a person. He's got outstanding athletic ability, great instincts, and I just think that he's such a well-liked person, and he's you know, you talk about people with handicaps and you talk about people with some disadvantages. He's got more than most people will ever realize.
It's incredible how the girl comes out of practice with the sign language. Briefly tell us what she does.
Well, Joyce Crane is an exceptional young girl. She's a senior at Classical, and we needed an interpreter for the sidelines, and she's been volunteer her time, you know, as an interpreter for him, and she's a great person to do it, and those are the things that make for nice stories.
I guess so. We're going to continue with Gary Millay and Dave Dempsey, but first we're going to take this short break. We'll be right back.
Millions of Americans with disabilities are eager and able to contribute to society.
Welcome back, and we'll continue talking to Dave Dempsey and Gary Millay from Classical and English as we get set for this Thanksgiving special show. We wind down to the defense, and Gary, you don't win 5 games with a green team coming back unless the defense plays well.
Yeah, you know, that's been our strength over the last couple of years. Not as strong this year, obviously, you know, again, but we were a little green, and, you know, here I think you see Rob Kempton coming up and making a nice tackle. He's only a junior. He's our middle linebacker, so he'll be back next year. And then John Mahoney was one of our tri-captains. He was back from last year here. John does a nice job in the defensive line, and you know, we get DeLuca, Mancini, and Zimorowski all back next year. They're all juniors. We had another senior, Brian Dentremont, play a little bit in the defensive line for us this year, who, you know, gave them guys a bit of a spell here and there when they needed it, and you know, he did a nice job when he was in there. So again, you know, we were a little green on defense, but, you know, again, like you said, we won 5 ball games, and we got some kids that we can build on. You see Dentremont here with the sack against Saugus, and you know, the kids up front, like I said, DeLuca, Mancini, Zimorowski, they'll all be back next year for us. So hopefully we'll be able to do a few things with our guys up front. They'll have that year under their belt. But, you know, overall, we thought our defense, you know, did a nice job for us this year. Overall, as a team, you know, we had I think we had somewhere around 12 interceptions, and you know, we did a good job. You know, we didn't let up a great amount of points in the games we lost. You know, we were close. So, you know, anytime you can do that with young kids, you know, you have to be happy about that. Here you see Miko with the big tackle against Bosco on the option pass, and Leroy Brown, who you saw force the pass and then get out there and make the tackle. He's all over the place. So, you know, we were happy with the way our defense played, and again, you know, most of them will be back next year, so we're looking forward to that.
Dave, you went up the season, I think, somewhere around 7 points a game. The defense was exceptional, and I think when you talk to anybody in the Northeastern Conference, I think the thing they point to most of the time is the team's speed, and you know, nobody really able to break a long run against you because of that speed in the backfield and the defensive ends as well.
Well, I think, as Gary said earlier, you don't coach speed and you don't teach it, but I think the big thing is that our kids, not only do we have good team speed, we just, you know, we have tough kids that go out and whack you. Here's Brett Wigfall, he's a junior. You know, all the big schools are calling on him already. Miami's called, Notre Dame's called. He's got great potential. He's just got to put it all together. He does it all. He's 6'3", about 250, 255, and you know, he can dunk a basketball. So he's got all the tools. Here he is against Marblehead. You know, he stripped Chew of the ball, and you know, gets down there, and you know, he can run to the sidelines. And the thing I like about him, he's got good instincts. He doesn't get you know, he doesn't get sucked in. He doesn't make too many bad decisions. So these are a couple of young kids back there, Simeon Anderson and Calvin Johnson. That was Simeon intercepting a big interception, and here's another one against Gloucester. Simeon's only a sophomore. You know, Calvin, I think you're going to see him next. You know, we kind of threw them in. We said, hey, let's go with them. We know that they're both great athletes, and we can you know, put them in our secondary, and they made big plays for us. Here's a little razzle-dazzle against Beverly. You know, Calvin Johnson just sits back, plays center field, and goes up and gets it. You know, and you got young kids, and they can be that disciplined at that age. You know, that's a real plus for us. This is Marblehead. You know, we got we got some things going. This is late, and Calvin Johnson picks off the pass. You know, he just, like I said, he's a disciplined guy. You're not going to beat him deep. He's going to get deeper than you, and Simi and him know, you know, they know enough to sit back there. This is Davin Clements. He's a junior. He's another kid that's come along for us. We talk about some people up front. You know, him and Brett do a nice job for us up front, and they've really, really forced a few big plays for us. There you see 24. Of course, you're going to see him anytime you see us on defense. You'll see 24 in there. Lex, Derek Lane, another junior here, along with. This was a big play in the Salem game, which kind of gave us the ball late in the game and allowed us to score on a little razzle-dazzle there.
I think you told me, too, that you expected the defense to give you the ball back before the game was over in a position to score.
Well, I think that was what we were relying on. The biggest thing I was concerned about in that Salem game was that defense breaking down and someone trying to make a big play and losing the continuity. You know, we went in with a defensive scheme, and I just kept telling them, just hang in there, something's going to happen, something's going to happen. We were too close on several occasions that you know, we knew we could get something going for defensively.
Okay, well, the only thing left to do now is play the games on Thanksgiving Day, and we hope all you people at home will get out and support your local high schools and help support the lottery as well. We mention that every Tuesday. And don't forget our trivia question for this week. The 4 schools that you see up on the screen are the ones you have to call. 581-9061 is the number to call to get in on the trivia and be in the hat for next week to be drawn out. Dave Dempsey, Gary Millay. Gary, I'm going to do the same thing I did last year. Last year when you got a shot at the Super Bowl, I said, Dave, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to root for Gary because Gary's got a shot at the Super Bowl. So I'm going to reverse it this year and say, Gary, I'm sorry. If you win, I'll be happy, but I'll be happy too if Dave wins because he's got a shot at the title and he's got a shot at a playoff berth. So I'm sure you know where I'm coming from. Gary, as usual, you guys have been terrific all year, and we really appreciate all the help you give us. And good luck to both of you on Thanksgiving Day. Our trivia question last week was Roger Clemens won 3 Cy Young Awards.
Good ball reverse.